After a strong summer league showing, is Charles Bassey looking to land with the Celtics during the real deal? We'll talk about that on today's show. And then some great news on Jayson Tatum's injury recovery. We all know it's going to be a long process during this recovery from his torn Achilles, but we're getting some positive notes as the summer comes along. Before we get into all that on today's show, I've been gone for a little bit. I've been in and out of the office all July and August. So my bosses are kind of mad that I haven't been getting as many new subs on the channel. They said on today's video, Tyler, you need to get 25 new subs, and yearly reviews are coming up. So don't get me yelled at, don't get me cooked in that meeting, and subscribe to Celtics Today for the best and freest Celtics content on YouTube. All right, let's get into it. Charles Bassey, does he want to be a Boston Celtic? Well, he certainly doesn't want to be playing overseas next season after he looked a step above the rest of the competition over in the Vegas Summer League. Noa Dalzell does great work. Give her a follow on Twitter. Read her stuff over at Celtics blog and beyond. She said, sources tell me Charles Bassey is currently planning on not going overseas, despite multiple outlets indicating otherwise. You know, spots are filling up around the NBA. In all likelihood, there's a good chance Charles Bassey might end up overseas. But he says that he still sees the Celtics as an ideal destination and is drawn to the team's culture of sustained winning. Look, Charles Bassey, there's a good chance he could be as good of a center as we have on the Celtics roster at this point. And I just read a quote a couple of minutes ago from Peyton Pritchard that said that they're trying to be a championship team. They're still trying to contend in the Eastern Conference, which is wide open next season. Could Bassey be an asset? In the 3 games that he played for the Celtics Summer League, and to be fair, he didn't come in with any sort of practice or any sort of chemistry prior with the Summer League roster. He came pretty last minute and then played really, really well over his 3 games. Two double-doubles, nearly 3. He was defending the rim at a high level and just a really overall a good around the rim big. He shot 70% from the field. He looked super efficient, 22 points in that Knicks game as well. He was really, really solid. And look, he hasn't had the most opportunity in his NBA career so far, but he really is looking to, at this next stage in his career, he's been with the Sixers, he's been with the Spurs for a little bit. He's looking to kind of get a more, just a bigger opportunity, a bigger shot. And with the Celtics wide open front court, that could be a possibility. Look, he hasn't put up the most inspiring stats over his career just from a huge sample size standpoint. But this is a guy who really hasn't had the most opportunity. And in the opportunity that he's gotten, if you look at his per 36 numbers, they're really, really solid here. But the counting stats that you see on screen, they're not inspiring, and it's probably a big reason that he still remains unsigned as we head into August. But if we turn the page back and read between the lines a little bit, and we look at where he ranks efficiency-wise when he gets those opportunities, Bassey probably should be in the NBA. Last season, his block percentage was 4.1. That's in the 98th percentile of centers. And yes, he only played 376 minutes. It's not a whole heck of a lot, but he made the most of his time. His offensive rebound percentage. We know the C's are going to need glass cleaners with JT out and the front court looking thin and everybody departing. He was in the 98th percentile of offensive rebound percentage for guys at his position. So this is a player who can dominate and can use his size and will around the basket. There is a big issue, though, when it comes to signing Charles Bassey this season, and it is the fact that the Celtics are just still really tied up. Even after losing Drew Holiday, even after losing Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and Luke Cornett, they're still not in the most opportune financial situation. They were so far above the second apron that it took all these moves just to get slightly above it, and the last move being them waiving J.D. Davison last week. That opens up a roster spot in order for Charles Bassey, literally to be signed by the Celtics, but I'm not so sure Boston would be willing to go down that path, as that would put them above the second apron at this point. They cut J.D. Davison to get under that number and to be able to aggregate contracts in a trade and be more flexible down the line. But who knows if they'll make a trade at this point, as that would probably be the only way that Boston could actually fit Charles Bassey on the roster without going back over that dreaded second apron. We know Brad Stevens is not going to want to be there heading into this season. And kind of detailing that a little bit more here is Brian Robb talking about the J.D. Davison wave and what it really does for Boston moving forward here. Who knows how short-term or long-term it will be, but at least for the start of this season, it looks like they'll be underneath the second apron. He said the C's are below the second apron now after cutting J.D. Davison, and the team has a lot more options now in a trade. They still can't take back more money than they can send out, but they can trade multiple players in the same deal, which will allow for some different types of structures than we've seen for the last couple of years. So in theory, the Celtics could package together a couple of players in order to open up another roster spot and have enough money to go out there and sign Charles Bassey for the low. But I'm not so sure that Brad Stevens is just going to make a hasty move or just try to make whatever trade that he possibly can make just in order to sign Charles Bassey. Yes, the front court isn't inspiring right now, but who knows how valuable Charles Bassey actually will be relative to all those guys. And then on the flip side, like how valuable are the Celtics trade assets to teams around the league that would make a deal in the next month and a half before training camp even realistic? Like Anthony Simons and George Niang, the guys they brought in via trade this summer, are really the only guys that are seen as viable trade candidates for Boston at this point. And how much interest is there around the league in expiring Anthony Simons, which we haven't really seen raise his stock with the C's yet, and George Niang, who can't defend a tree. But it could be worth it when you look at this. Like it is not inspiring. Neemias Queta slated to be the starting center heading into this season. You bring in Luka Garza, like those two guys provide a whole heck of a lot of different skill sets. But again, I'm just not that inspired by what the C's got going on down low. Xavier Tillman's still recovering from an injury, and Amari Williams couldn't even get any run in Summer League. He'll be on a two-way contract, probably spending most of his season with the Maine Celtics. So, there is a case to be made to go out there and make a deal or try to make a deal in order to open up a spot for Charles Bassey. He's proved it to you in Summer League, and he probably deserves an NBA shot, but with the way that a lot of rosters look around the league, I'm not so sure that's going to be super likely for him. Should Boston find a way to sign Charles Bassey, though, make a move, figure out a way, open up a spot, get their monies a little bit better in a situation to sign him, yes or no, let me know down in the comments section. Next up, we're going to get to a Jayson Tatum injury update, and it's not anything like he's coming back next season or anything confirmed on a timeline of his recovery, but it is something positive as we are in the dog days of the offseason. We'll get to that in just a moment. Make sure you guys get hooked up with this awesome deal that is even cheaper than I originally saw. We've been running this deal for a little bit now on the channel, the Celtics 2024 championship shirt with the caricatures of all the contributors and all that stuff. Remember, it used to be $17? Yeah, now it's $13 with our friends over at Fanatics. This is a can't-miss deal. They got all the sizes still available. Get it at this link right here, chatsports.com/champ-sale. It's chatsports.com/champ-sale. Don't worry, you don't got to type it all out, though. I put that link in the comment section and description of today's video. Make it easy for you guys. Go get yourself a really, really cheap and really good-looking Celtics 2024 champ t-shirt today. All right, let's get into it. And before we get into it, actually, shout out to my guy, Emil Jefferson. If you're a Duke fan, that's my guy. That's 2015 national champion, Emil Jefferson, to you. But he was working out with Jayson Tatum at the CP3 Elite Camp. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but JT, I don't see a boot on that little foot of his there, that right foot that he tore the Achilles of back in the New York Knicks series, and it was one of the worst moments of my basketball life. But of my life, yes. Thank you, producer Coop. One of the worst moments of my life, not basketball life, just one of the worst moments of my life in general. It's going to be a while till we see him back on the court, but we are getting some positive updates from some people who were on site at the CP3 Elite Camp. An anonymous scout told Steve Bulpett, a longtime Celtics insider, about the state of Jayson Tatum, kind of how he looked through the whole situation, and he said he was moving really well. There have been a slight limp or something, but the surprising thing to me is that he didn't have a boot on for any of it. I'm no doctor, but I've seen guys coming back from Achilles tears, and he looked way ahead. I was kind of shocked to see how well he was moving. I have no idea what any of this means for when he can come back. I'm sure that he and the Celtics medical people have their program set up, and they'll make sure that he's where he needs to be in order for when he does get back. But he looks great right now. Of course, he didn't do any running or even jogging, but he's in great shape, and he had no trouble doing his part of the camp. He was working with the wings over at the CP3 Elite Camp, and if we look back to just a little less than 2 weeks ago, July 26th, JT had a boot on working at his own kids' camp down in St. Louis, and I don't know if you guys saw it. The kids all swarmed him. They were so happy when JT walked in the gym. It was awesome to see, and I'm glad that he's still participating in at least some semblance of basketball activity during this offseason period where he's kind of at the peak of his injury, right? Like, his thing happened 3 months ago. Like, it is not going to be anywhere near where it needs to be for him to be resuming real basketball activities, but I'm glad he's still in the environments, and he's still in the Celtics building, rehabbing, and all that stuff. Like, he wants to be back on the court more than anybody, and that's why I say this will be the greatest Achilles recovery comeback of all time. It is quite literally unprecedented to see a player at Jayson Tatum's age, production level, and honestly, the skill set that he has probably isn't super hampered by an Achilles tear relative to maybe a guy like a Kobe Bryant was way back when, or a Damian Lillard is going to be when he returns. Like guys who kind of rely on those quick first steps and those low to the ground twitchy moves. Like Tatum can be effective in a whole heck of a lot of ways other than that. So I think that when he comes back, I'm not saying he's going to be exceeding the production or exceeding the overall eye test level that we saw, but it is going to be at least a Durant level comeback to where he is just as good of a player or can be just as effective of a player and contribute enough to winning as he has in his entire career. So that's my stamp, and I'm sticking by it, and I can't wait to say to all the people, especially in the chat sports offices, that I told you so. If you want Jayson Tatum to come back at 100%, hit that like button on today's video. Show some love. Send the good vibes. There is some rumors that if the Celtics want to potentially bring him back if they are in contention at the end of next season, I personally would be willing to just keep him out, get him back for 26-27, and be ready to contend when he is fully healthy. But if you want him to come back 100% at all, which is not guaranteed, go down below, manifest it like that video, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Lock us in and hit that sub button for the best and freest Celtics content on YouTube all offseason long and into the regular season as well, because the content does not stop. We'll see you guys all in the next one, and as always, let's go C's.